Hello, welcome back to our discussion about geotechnical engineering and the geotechnical system performance functions in planning studies for the Army Corps of Engineers. This is part 2 of our talk. In this part of the presentation, we're going to talk about Army Corps of Engineer policy and guidance, the difference between overtopping breach and breach prior to overtopping, flood control risk equation, and geotechnical system performance function definition. We're going to talk about how this relates to our economic decisions and planning and how this effort can be scaled for smart planning objectives. So with that, we'll jump right into it. Guidance regarding geotechnical system response curves or performance functions, those terms are kind of synonymous. Can be found in the following documents. There's a new publication, which is Engineering Technical Letter 1110-2-588, and this is a new publication, but it's basically kind of a reissuing of Engineering Technical Letter 556. So if you are familiar with that, this is kind of a small update and reissue of that document. There's expired Engineering Technical Letter 561, specific to embankment dam risk assessments. And then we are expecting a new engineering manual soon. We've been expecting it anytime for a couple of years now for the design and construction of levees. So that's kind of the current guidance. So if you're looking for help from, and guidance regarding work around geotechnical system response curves, performance functions, fragility curves, they're kind of interchangeable terms. These are good places to start, especially for your engineering folks. What do we talk about? What are the geotechnical engineer goals? Well, when we have flood control or flood risk management structures like levees, there's kind of two concerns about failure. There's failure because the water comes down and is too high and overtops the system, or there could be failure if the system has failure performance, and so a levee could breach and let the water through before overtopping. So we have these two cases, and the geotechnical engineers, when they develop system response curves, are trying to predict what the chance is the levee might breach before it overtops, and that's the kind of where the most work really is. When we talk about flood risk management structures, we're trying to reduce flood risk for communities, right? And so the risk equation is really the hazard, which is the water loading, and it's multiplied by the performance of the flood control or flood management feature. So in this case, it's the geotechnical system response of this levee in this picture, and that's multiplied by the consequence. And so the risk is calculated at all the water loading probabilities. It's integrated and annualized, and this is how we get our annualized risk. So the geotechnical engineers are really responsible for this performance piece of the risk equation and predicting how the system will respond. So I think it's important to note that the geotechnical system response curve, when we're doing HEC FDA modeling, which is the primary tool that USACE uses for these kind of studies, is that the system response curve represents the conditional probability of failure leading to an inundation and associated economic life safety consequences. So what does that mean? What it means, given the water load, that's the condition. So this water load, if this water load exists, here is the probability that the levee will fail. And so I think that's a very important thing. There's been a lot of, it's a hard thing to predict. And so it's been a long time kind of getting to this point in Army Corps of Engineers. and guidance, and some of the early guidance was focused on probability of unsatisfactory performance and things, but what we're trying to do for HEC FDA is get to the probability of failure, which results in a flood happening and someone's carpet getting wet. So the geotechnical system response curves predict the probability of failure, and they have a direct impact on the benefit-cost ratio in the economic analysis of the project. So if we estimate that a levee has poor performance, that means it has lots of damages. There's potentially lots of benefits for a new project, but it might be very expensive to remediate. So if we overestimate the poor performance, so basically we say it's going to fail all the time in kind of a conservative approach, we might be raising the benefits of this equation inadvertently as well as the costs, and so we might make the wrong decision. So we need performance functions both for without project and with project conditions. And so when we design a new project, we need to make sure that whatever's causing the poor performance in the without project, we are designing for to improve the performance in the with project condition. Sometimes the geotechnical performance is very difficult to predict, and the uncertainty of the geotechnical performance or the geotechnical conditions at a site may be a significant contributor to project implementation costs. And so we need to understand how the geotechnical assumptions relate to the project estimated costs and schedule risks, and either investigate them or design for those uncertainties or plan accordingly through risk registers and cost contingencies. What our goal in smart planning, which limits our budget and schedule, is to do all the engineering that matters and none that doesn't. Okay, so that's hard to do, but that's our goal. And so, if we get the without project models up running as soon as possible, sometimes simple sensitivity analysis, what if the levee fails all the time? What if it never fails? And identifying if that affects the results significantly. Sometimes it doesn't, and we can end the geotechnical analysis there, basically in the without project, saying the geotechnical performance of this feature doesn't matter much in the potential benefits of this project. So when would that occur? Basically, if you have a small levee that only protects for frequent events, maybe 10 or 20-year events, and after that it gets overtopped, the geotechnical system performance may not matter very much in the economic calculations, and there doesn't need to be a lot of geotechnical engineering effort. But if there's a big difference, you run it, levee fails all the time and the levee fails all the time, or the levee never fails, and the economic analysis shows a wide range of potential damages in the without project condition, then the geotechnical performance functions matter, and additional analysis may be warranted. So there's a number of different methods that can be used to develop geotechnical performance functions, and the engineers working on the project just need to document why a certain method is best for their project and describe the limitations and help the planners and other people in the project interpret what that means for the project. So one other item that might come into question is, are we trying to estimate costs for a budget for congressional appropriation, and that, or are we just trying to compare two alternatives on their relative performance to see which one is better? That question might make a difference to how much analysis is needed. If we're trying to be budget accurate, more analysis and more investigation may be warranted. to refine the budget and have more confidence in it. If we're just trying to say this project is better than that project, or this project will cost more or less than that project, sometimes those relative comparisons are all that's needed, and less analysis may be warranted. So here's what we talked about. Please let me know if you have any questions on what we're trying to accomplish as geotechnical engineers in the flood damage reduction planning kind of projects. So thanks a lot.